Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of On Campus. My name is Nathaniel Thomas here at the Solano College Sports Network TV studio. I'm joined by the Vice President of Academic Affairs, Dr. David Williams. Dr. Williams, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Nathan. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. You know, we have a lot to discuss today, but I guess my first question, I want to dig a little deep into your lore. How would you describe yourself as a student when you were just starting out college?
Well, when I started out in college, I was a first-generation college student, which at the time I didn't even know what that was. My parents didn't go to college. I had one older sibling who didn't go to college, so I didn't really know what it was about. It was just sort of an expectation that you go to college. So I went to college. I was always a good high school student, but I didn't study. I was just good, and I was able to get along enough by just paying attention and doing my work. When I got to college, though, I actually realized I had to attend class to be successful. I realized I had to study for the first time, so I did flunk 2 classes in college, and it wasn't physics or chemistry. I flunked art appreciation. No, that's the only class I flunked. But it was really, I was kind of mad at the teacher. I said, I'll show you. I'll just flunk the class, which I had to take it again. So I really had to grow up, I think, a little bit when I started college, but I was a good student, and I really enjoyed college. I enjoyed the activities, the social activities and things like that. So I got better. But I graduated with a 3.25 GPA. So I wasn't a 4.0 student, but I was also involved in a lot of activities. And so I supplemented my academics with, I was a theater major, so I supplemented it with plays. I had a trumpet scholarship to play in the band, so I played in the band, and I did other kinds of activities. So I really tried to get the most I could out of the whole college experience.
So it sounded like you were very well-rounded in high school. I mean, you said you were into theater, and then you
I think I was.
Trumpet.
Yeah. Music, I think, was what I was most involved in, but I didn't major in it. I got a scholarship, so I played in the band when I was in college. But I started as a broadcasting major, and like many students, I switched my major. Once I got to college, I switched over to theater because there was a fascinating theater professor that really interested me and inspired me and believed in me, and so I switched over to theater. Theater education was my degree, and I still continue to play in the band, which I loved. It was fun, but that was my major.
Awesome. So at what point in your college journey did you decide, okay, I want to pursue this and keep going and pursue more education beyond a bachelor's?
Well, I went to a small private Christian college, and in my degree in the theater major, we had one professor who taught all the classes, which was great for me as a student because it was a small department, so I got to do everything. I got to act, I got to direct, I got to stage manage, I got to design sets and lights. I actually ran the scene shop for a couple of years. So I got lots of experience in the small department. If I'd have been in a larger department, I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to do. And then after I graduated from college, because I'd only had one professor, I wanted more experience with theater. So I signed up and got accepted to the American Conservatory Theater's summer training program in San Francisco. And I took that program to get more experience. And by the way, I went to college in Missouri, and that's where I grew up. And so I also wanted to get a kind of a coastal perspective. I wanted to get out of the Midwest. So I came out to San Francisco, did ACT's summer program, had lots of different teachers, and at that point I was sitting in a class that was taught by a Stanford professor, Stanford theater professor, and I just loved hearing him talk about the history of the theater and the costumes and the staging, and I was just fascinated by that. And I remember the moment when I said, I want to go back and get more. I want to get a master's degree, and eventually I went on and got a PhD. But it was all throughout my career, I think like a lot of students, I had teachers and professors throughout my career who inspired me and believed in me to move on, and that's what I did.
That's great. So you were from Missouri?
Yeah.
You born and raised?
Born and raised in Kansas City.
Wow, okay. And so, yes, you wanted to have a more coastal experience.
Mm-hmm.
What made you decide on Northern California and the Bay Area versus the other opportunities, I guess, that were in Southern California or elsewhere?
Well, again, being a first-generation college student, I didn't have a lot of guidance on how to apply. I got advice from professors. I did my master's in Missouri, so I stayed where I was and did my master's degree. But when I was looking for my PhD program, I just got recommendations from people on different colleges. And so I applied I applied in Washington, I applied in California, and I applied in Texas. And the decision was easy because California accepted me. So I went to UC Davis for my doctorate degree.
All right. Well, we have an Aggie with us then.
Yeah.
All right. So it was high school in Missouri?
High school,
and college?
undergraduate, and master's in Missouri, and then my doctorate at Davis.
Okay, awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about your teaching experience, I guess, especially when you're taking a doctorate degree,
Yeah.
you have to have, was that your first time getting in front of a classroom?
Well, I taught as a graduate student in my master's program. And actually, when I was growing up, I was also a Boy Scout. And I was on Boy Scouts camp staff for a number of years. And I got, early on as a young boy in high school, I got experience at summer camp teaching courses and badges and things like that. And I loved it. And so I kind of always thought I wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to, and I enjoyed being in front of people. I enjoyed sharing my passion. So that's what I did. And so when I started in my undergraduate program, it just took off from there. But I taught, again, my area was theater. I was an actor, I was a director, I was a designer. My doctorate was in theater history. So when I started teaching, I was mainly teaching introduction to theater classes. I taught at Texas Tech University. I was head of the undergraduate program in the theater and dance department there, and I taught theater history classes, introduction to theater. And I also started teaching film classes there, ran the film program, and got more experience in that. I published in theater and film, so I just kind of expanded as I went through. And when I left Texas and came back to California, that was my first exposure to the community college. And I started in the Sacramento area in Los Rios Community College District, teaching mainly film classes.
Okay, well, it sounds like you have a wealth of experience before landing this job as the Vice President of Academic Affairs. Were there any particular experiences that maybe you still draw from that helps you execute your job, or maybe any particular experiences that you feel made you prepared to do this job back in 2017, was it, when you first started?
Well, that's a great question. What I always say is my path was not a straight path, and my path was not according to my plan. But what I appreciate about my past and my experience is I have experience at a small private college. I have experience at a state university. I have experience at a research institution. I have experience in a community college. I have experience in a conservatory. I also had, for a period of time, I worked as a classified employee, a non-teaching position at UC Davis for a number of years. So I had experience as a classified employee as well. So I am very proud of my background because I think I bring knowledge and experiences from different sectors, and I can pull on the best of each of those in my current job. So all that's been very helpful. I think the typical trajectory for people in my position is to move from faculty into dean into administration. But I have experience, again, as a staff member. I have experience as an adjunct faculty and a full-time faculty at 2-year institutions and 4-year institutions. So I feel like I've experienced a lot of things that my colleagues have experienced and go through, and I appreciate the work that they all do. And I hope that comes across in my work, that I appreciate them, because I've been there. I know what it's like to be a part-timer and really be desperate, to teach a class and really enjoy every opportunity to teach. So I feel like that's made me a more, developed, more experienced person, and I can bring those different perspectives to my job.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having those different perspectives certainly, I'm sure, made you more approachable by the people that you work with.
I hope so.
I do have a question. So you did a lot of work bringing education to justice-impacted students and diversifying the hires and removing systemic barriers to student success. Can you tell me a little bit more about the wins and roadblocks that you came across when pursuing these objectives?
Well, thanks for pointing that out. One of the things I'm most proud of is Solano College's work with justice-impacted students. We have a great program for incarcerated persons. We teach in 3 different prisons and the jail here in Northern California. And then we also have a program on campus for students who have been justice-impacted. And I'm very proud of the work that we've done in that area. I was on the statewide advisory committee for that. We have great people. Tony Zitko is our dean of that program, and then Shannon Danley runs our SOAR program. So I think we have dedicated faculty. And really one of the barriers that we've overcome is the stigma of teaching in a prison, teaching incarcerated individuals. There's fear, I think, about going into prison. But those of us that have been inside the prisons, it's really a life-changing experience, because there are people in there who've made mistakes in their lives, and they want to make their lives better. They want to serve their sentence, they want to get better, they want to get out and contribute to society. And the people that I've met have been just fantastic individuals. We've had a couple of graduations inside California Medical Facility. We've had great speeches by students. That prison has a prison band that gave one of the best renditions of the national anthem I've ever heard. Great speeches. So they're so supportive of each other, and they have a reason. They understand the value and the importance of education, because many of these individuals didn't have good educational experiences growing up, either through elementary school or high school. Maybe the family support, maybe they quit school, they took a wrong path, but now they know the value and how education can change their lives. And I feel like it's one of our moral imperatives as a college is to serve that population, so that when they get out, they can contribute to society as better people. And so I'm really proud of that program. So we have, by having many of our excellent faculty teach inside and come back and tell their colleagues what a valuable experience it is, more and more faculty are now interested and willing to go inside and teach in that environment. And again, those students are well behaved. They have a reason for being here. They know what they want out of the education, and they're just a joy to work with and a joy to teach. So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the type of individual that would want to take these classes are the types who are already taking that first step to better themselves. It's not like it's a mandatory class.
Correct.
And so do you notice how exactly they fared after the program?
Well, we have lots of stories of students who, when they get released, are very successful. We have one student I know who is studying at Oxford in England. We have students who go on to Cal State and Berkeley and other institutions like that. We have students, graduates, who go on and start their own businesses. So it really is, it's a life-changing experience for them, and they really do benefit from it. So I'm proud of our role in that.
Oh, you have a lot to be proud of, especially with that line of work. You've also mentored a number of deans throughout the state. Do you have any guiding philosophies or key principles before you take on a mentee?
Well, so I was on the executive board for a couple of years of the Chief Instructional Officers organization in California, so all the vice presidents of instruction. It's a wonderful organization, a lot of hardworking people up and down the state who are doing the same kind of work that I'm doing. And we saw the need not only to diversify our ranks, because as we looked around our room at our conferences, we knew that California students, community college students, were very diverse. But when we looked around the room, we recognized that a lot of the people in my position looked a lot like me. They were white, older males and white females. And so we knew that we needed more leaders of color in our system. And we knew that they were out there. But in order to do that, you need to start by diversifying your faculty, because these positions, like I said earlier, come up through the faculty. So we need to make sure that we're hiring diverse faculty that have opportunities, and then that they become deans in positions, and that the deans are supported to then become chief instructional officers, and then maybe eventually presidents or chancellors. That's a traditional trajectory. So when I was part of the organization, we created this program called Alive that was meant to help deans of color particularly, and allies, white allies, navigate some of the racist structures in our system, some of the microaggressions that frankly some of our colleagues of color feel on our college campuses, help them navigate those systems, give them strategies to be successful, and help them advance through the system. So as a part of that program, I've been assigned some mentees throughout the years. I'm with my sixth mentee now, but 4 of my first 5 mentees are now chief instructional officers in the state. They were amazing deans, amazing leaders before I even met them, and I'm proud of that they've been able to move into the CIO role. One of the things that I tell them, first of all, is you don't do it for the money, because it's not worth what we get paid. It's really a calling. But I do feel like these roles, we have the ability to really, help an institution on a larger level by removing barriers, by changing policies and writing policies. So I really want to make sure that, first of all, they know why they're in it and that they're authentic. Because here's what I tell everybody. The tasks of a manager, and I don't want to offend any of our talented managers out there, the tasks are not complicated. We do things we move budgets, we sign documents, we write reports, we evaluate employees, we hire employees. Those tasks are not complicated. The challenge in our role is interpersonal interactions, building relationships, helping support people. Because I feel like when I was a teacher, I helped students. But as a manager, my job is to support the people that I work with to help them be successful in their role. So as a CIO, I think my biggest job, my most important job, is to help faculty and deans have the tools that they need to be successful with students. If they don't have the tools, if they don't feel supported in their work, then that's not going to pass on down to our students, and then they're not going to be successful with students. So really, I think that starts with authenticity, that you have to know who you are, and you have to be real with people. And I think you also have to care. And I don't think we use the term love enough in our field, in our system, but we really have to love our students, and we really have to love the people that we work with, because we spend more time with them than we do with our families. And I think if we share that love and that love is evident, people pick up on it, and I think we'll be better able to serve our students.
Yeah, you know, with this type of position, it's definitely not something that you fall into accidentally. It's not the type of position where, oh, well, I've been here 20 years and this is where I am. You like you said, you have to answer a calling, right? And
Yeah.
so I think it's evident that everyone who gets into this profession, they have a real passion for it.
Well, look, I mean, I was a teacher for a number of years, and teaching is a great job. Teaching is a wonderful profession. I would have done it the rest of my life. I loved it. But and there are many people that enjoy that, and that's what they want to do, and they don't want so there's challenges come with administration. When you're a faculty member, you're kind of the master of your domain, and you're the expert in the area, and it's important to always learn and grow. But as a manager, every day is different, and we live in a constant state of not knowing the answers all the time, and that's okay. But you have to be comfortable with that, and you have to be comfortable then just maybe searching and working together. I can't do my job by myself. And so what I do love about what I do, kind of like what I loved about being in the theater, what I loved about being in music, is the interactions with other people, is coming together with a goal, coming up with a solution, and working on it together.
That's great. Well, it's great that you also mentioned that you need help to do your job. Now, I want to pivot a little bit and ask how the job has changed. I know every day in your position is going to look a little different here and there, but year on year, how exactly has it evolved? I'm sure 17 to 20 was one chapter, and then everything after 20 has been another. But when you look at it as a whole, how has it evolved?
Well, I think I've evolved. I think I've grown, and I think one of the things that I have learned is that I don't have to have all the answers all the time. And in fact, when I open it up to other viewpoints and other ideas, we often get better answers than I could come up with myself. I think sometimes when you're new and in a leadership role, there's a tendency to want to be the one that has all the answers and be the one that, part of it is just so that, for your own confidence or to prove to other people that you deserve the job. But in reality, people want to know that they can come to you, that they can challenge you, that they can push back, that they can play off. Because frankly, we hire people to do work, and if we don't rely on them to do the work, then why did we hire them? And I go back to my theater training when I was a theater director. You cast an actor or an actress because you see something in them that brings the role to life. And so you have to let them bring that, right? And then my job is just to kind of guide them and encourage them and be that additional eye. So I think the same thing is true in leadership. I've learned to now not have to believe that I have to have all the answers all the time. And I think that's sometimes comforting. I think sometimes when you're with leaders that think they know everything, it's hard to kind of get through, and not everybody's right all the time. And sometimes people that think they're right all the time don't know when they're not right. And so I just kind of try to start with this Here's what I know, here's my perspective, here's what I think would be the answer. And then I've kind of tried to learn how to then just be quiet and then let those ideas percolate. And if that's the strongest idea, it'll emerge. If it's not the strongest idea and something else better comes along, then that's great. And so I think I've kind of learned to give over some of that a little bit, and I think people appreciate that.
Well, it sounds like there's been a lot of growth, especially a lot of personal growth throughout your career. Looking forward, how do you expect either you or the position to continue to evolve, in the coming decades?
Well, I think, in our field, in our system, there's a lot of stuff that comes to us, a lot of legislative initiatives, a lot of accreditation requirements that change over time, demographic changes that happen. So we are reacting to a lot of things, and I think that I'm hoping that we're becoming more flexible and more able to respond to some of those changes. I think sometimes we get into kind of a pattern of doing things a certain way, and then something comes to disrupt that, either necessarily or sometimes just because the legislature decides they want to do something, and we have to respond to it, and we have to be able to respond with enthusiasm and flexibly in a way that still honors things like academic freedom, that still honors the rights of students. My hope is that, that Solano College, we're not going to be the biggest college in the state. We don't have the most programs. We don't have a beach. But my hope is that Solano College will become the most caring college in the state. And students can come to us and say, yeah, the staff, the grounds people, the faculty, the admissions clerks, the vice president, the president all cared about me, and I felt that when I was at Solano College. I think if we can get to that point, I'll be very satisfied.
Yeah, well, it's great that you also mentioned disruption and having to respond to that. How do you expect, and this is my last question, how do you expect education to evolve in the future, especially when it comes to, the technology that's being integrated into education? Do you expect the academia as a whole to embrace technology, or where do you see that heading?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to, right? Because the world is changing. I think that with AI, we spent a lot of time trying to fight AI, but I think when you adapt to AI, AI adapts to change. And so a lot of industries are now using it. So I think we do need to prepare our students for it. It is a challenge, right, in the classroom with students using AI and maybe not getting into the material as much because maybe there's a shortcut, maybe they can find the answer on the internet, but that's been around forever. There's cheating going on. It didn't just start with AI, it's been around for a long time, but I think one thing that AI can't do is it can't create that human connection with the student. It has a little bit of a problem with some critical thinking skills. It has a little bit of a problem with creativity. It has a little bit of a problem with relationships. Those things AI is not going to be able to replicate. So I think what we have to do as a college, as an educational system, is find out and capitalize on the ways that the human interaction between students and faculty, students and staff, how we can maximize that to help students be successful. And I think there's lots of opportunities for that. Because students don't come to college to take a class. They come to change their lives. And as I said, my life was changed by people. And I don't think that's ever going to change.
Wow. Well, that's a fantastic way to view the situation. We do have a few bonus questions.
Okay.
This is just quick, rapid fire, one answer questions.
Okay.
Or one word answer
Hit
questions.
me.
All right. Favorite movie?
The Graduate.
Favorite book?
Things Fall Apart. Actually, can I give a caveat to that? I don't like to say this. I think Lolita is a fabulously written book. The literature is fabulous, but it's also controversial, but I think it's just a well-written book. But I love Things Fall Apart, and Things Fall Apart.
Things Fall Apart. That's a great book.
Oh, good. Do you know it?
I do.
It's eye-opening.
The point of view shift. In the
Oh, yeah.
way, yeah, that was amazing.
Again, as a leader, right, it's the book, if you don't know the book, it's about a leader of a tribe who rises to the top and then he falls.
Yeah.
And it can happen to any of us, so it's a good reminder.
It is. And I did say rapid fire, so tangent.
I threw us off. That was my fault.
Favorite album?
I don't know the name of it, but my favorite, Bat Out of Hell. Is that an album or is that a movie? I'm old, so I love Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell.
That I don't know.
You know, that album. I don't know. I don't look like a Meatloaf fan, but I love that.
There's no wrong answers here. All right, we're going to wrap it up with sports because we are at the Solano
Okay.
College Sports Network
You
TV
bet.
studio. Favorite MLB team?
Well, I was born and raised in Kansas City, so I don't follow baseball anymore, but I cried when the Royals won the World Series a couple years ago. Thought it was an exciting series.
Good answer. NFL team?
Kansas City Chiefs. And Patrick Mahomes, the future Hall of Famer, was also the quarterback at Texas Tech, where I taught.
I mean, yeah, Patrick Mahomes, that's just greatness unfolding before
Yep.
your eyes. Last, favorite NBA team?
I'm going to go with the Kings.
The Kings, all right.
They came from Kansas City, and they failed in Kansas City, and they came to Sacramento and didn't do much better, but I have something in my heart for the Kings.
All right, well, let's go Kings, let's go Chiefs, let's go Royals.
All
All
right.
right. So that just about wraps up this episode of On Campus. I've been Nathaniel Thomas here at the Solano College Sports Network. Big thank you to the Vice President of Academic Affairs, Dr. David Williams. See you next time.
The exponential growth from the program from my first year to my third year now, that's what keeps me coming back and keeps me excited and just like fulfills me as a person.
It's so impressive, and we every time we walk in here, you guys are doing something different. It's great. It's
Nothing but opportunities here, and we have sports to cover, we have the equipment.
Because the more ambitious you are, the more opportunities you'll have.
on-the-job training is huge.
Get the hands-on experience.
When someone asks who can do it, you know, you can raise your hand and say, I can do it. So.
Joining the class was the best decision I ever made.
Stand by, we're going to go to cut one. And cut one.
Cross court to Audrey Jones. Audrey for three. It is good! With 1.3 seconds left on the game clock. Audrey Jones with one of the biggest shots ever.
The sky's the limit, really, with what we can do here.
College just got affordable. Up to 100% of enrollment fees can be reimbursed for first-time college students taking full-time classes. At Solano Community College, we are taking full advantage of this to further your future. With certificate and degree programs in industrial technology, aeronautics, biotechnology, and many others, Solano Community College is a staple for success. For more information, please contact the Financial Aid Office at 707-864-7000.